Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Monday, the 26th of November, 2021. These are the stories that we will be talking about during the course of the show. We'll begin with the Foreign Office rebuttal of the statement by the Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, in which he talked about strikes inside of Pakistan. And of course, he threatened Pakistan on Saturday when he was addressing people. And the reaction has come from the Foreign Office on Sunday, in which they have, of course, rejected the irresponsible, provocative and gratuitous remarks by the Indian Defence Minister regarding threatening Pakistan. This is going to be our first segment. When at the same time they threaten Pakistan, at the very same time they also give Mr. Abhinandan, the pilot who was arrested in 2019, with the Veer Chakra. Well, we'll be talking about that as well in our first segment. In our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about the United Nations Development Program, otherwise known as the UNDP, that has come up with a report that talks about a financial collapse in Afghanistan in the coming months if the situation persists in the country. The need for aid to arrive in Afghanistan, whether it be economic, whether it be in the form of food, whether it be in the form of money, is of extreme urgency and extreme importance. This is going to be our second segment of the day. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about Sudan, where the Sudanese top general who ousted the Prime Minister around a month back has reinstated him after a breakthrough deal that took place on Sunday to reverse this military takeover because it had sparked international condemnation. Then we will be talking about the protests that have erupted all across Europe because of COVID-19 and the curbs that the governments there are putting on because of the fifth wave of COVID-19 that is slowly and steadily engulfing parts of Europe. We'll be talking about that. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about the United States of America, where a tragic incident happened in Wisconsin. A car plowed through a Christmas parade in the US state, killing 5 and injuring at least 40 people. Why did that happen? This is going to be our last segment. Let's begin with our first story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the threat by the Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh about entering Pakistan and striking Pakistan. More in the following report.
The regional pariah India has a history of hatching conspiracies against Pakistan since the inception of Muslim Republic. Multiple instances have periodically unravelled Indian hybrid designs against Pakistan. That is the use of non-traditional means to tarnish Islamabad's international standing and fomenting destabilization. A maliciously fabricated disinformation campaign is one of the most lethal tools of hybrid aggression, whereby false and manipulated facts are propagated for geopolitical ends. In its bid to further catalyze this unilaterally waged war by non-kinetic means, Indian authorities in nexus with biased media are reportedly factually incorrect in baseless reports regarding alleged seizure of radioactive material. According to the Indian media propaganda, Indian customs allegedly seized hazardous cargo containing potentially radioactive substances. In his highly inflammatory and provocative statement, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh avowed that his country would carry out operations across the international border into Pakistani territory if India's western neighbour creates a lot of trouble. In response to Indian provocations, Pakistan vehemently condemned Indian conduct while terming threats to carry out military action on Pakistani soil is highly irresponsible, provocative and gratuitous. Marking a strong rebuttal of Indian mischief, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs emphasised that Pakistan is fully capable of defending itself against any aggression. The entire world was witness to Pakistan's capability and resolve in thwarting the Indian misadventure in February 2019. Pakistan has periodically urged the international community to hold India accountable for its belligerence, as Indian obsession with war and regional hegemony is posing a serious threat to regional and global peace.
And to talk more about that, we've been joined in the studios by our first guest, Air Commodore retired Iftikhar Ahmad Bajwa. Thank you very much, Air Commodore Sahab, to have joined us. Sir, first of all, this threatening statement by Rajnath Singh, not the first time, and I don't believe it will be the last time either, by either the Defence Minister or their Home Minister or their Prime Minister or the different, the troika that has been formed in India. Why is this continuous threat emanating from India? Is it to hide their own flaws?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's not emanating, I would say, threat. these statements, they had been there, and their gravity and aggressiveness continues to vary, and they are likely to come up time and again. Especially when Pakistan provides some concessions to India, like in recent days, their visit on the 6th anniversary and Kartarpur thing, and then there was the legislation about the Indian spy here. These were few of the concessions that Pakistan actually, I would say that Pakistan posed very successfully a very soft image. And to reply to such a soft image, India goes very aggressive, and it had been going very aggressive. And this time too, I think, this statement...
Why this aggressive posture? I mean, what is the reasoning behind all of that?
Because they like to pose to the world as if they don't care about such things. And they are right. And they talk these lies with such a frequency, according to Chanakya's mythology, that they continue to lie and lie and lie, and they think that people would tend to believe that what they say is correct. And actually, end of the day,
people tend to believe them.
People, maybe their own people.
Their
at
own
times,
people mostly.
Because such provocative things, they sell off comparatively nicely inside their own territory, where they have embarked, they have left a secular and a liberal, I would say, path. Although when they were secular and liberal, they were declared like that. Their track record wasn't that great, but they left that path and they are on to that, I would say, Hindutva mythology. While that is there in India, people like to, there's a big percentage of people in India who like to listen to such a stuff. So they think that
have they been blinded? Have they been brainwashed over the last 8 years, Commodore Saab, as far as this mythology that you talk about, this RSS philosophy, Chanakya philosophy that you so elaborate? Do you feel that this has slowly and steadily penetrated into the Hindu household to such an extent that they believe whatever the government tells them to?
To a great extent, yes. But we cannot deny the fact that there is a very active civil society in India. There is a big percentage of people who are learned, educated, and they are true propagators of secularism and liberalism. They are upset because India is actually losing a lot of grounds to its liberal face, its secular face. And India can exist, as somebody said, that from India, if you take secularism out, it will actually will not exist. And in Pakistan, if you take Islam out, it will not exist. One of the scholars ever said. So actually, they are upset. But then there are people, simple souls, who tend to believe whatever their leadership tries to tell them, and they have blinded, if at all they have blinded, they blinded their media to a great extent. They're not letting their media tell their people the truth, what has happened in the recent past. And then we as Pakistanis, we must not forget the fact that in last couple of years, what has happened, what all has happened to India? They've had embarrassment quite some time and again.
But like has that changed their attitude or the way they are dealing with the people in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir elsewhere within India or with its neighbors? You know the tense relationship not only with Pakistan that India has had, but also with other neighboring countries.
Other neighboring countries, they actually are like, I would say they're very aggressive and they get the job done through coercive diplomacy. With Pakistan, that doesn't work. With Pakistan, they have to resort to such tactics of very aggressive posturing and such like irresponsible statement. I mean, this man is, Rajnath Singh is otherwise a very soft-spoken person, he's 70 years old and a very groomed politician. We don't expect that stature of a person to be talking like a street boy.
But that is exactly what happened.
That is happening. It is because that they like to post to their people that, well, nothing has happened. Whereas they had had embarrassment quite sometimes in the recent past, in like February 19th thing, And then
all right, let's talk of February 19. Let's talk of February 19. Let's talk of Abhinandan. And let's talk of Abhinandan being given the Veer Chakra, which is the third highest honor that to be given to any military person within India. For what? To have a cup of tea in Pakistan?
See, again, going back to their mythology, that they lie and lie and lie. They had been doing it. And they always felt that they perhaps had been successful. They were never actually. When it comes to statistics, it tells, I mean, about Abhinandan's so-called claim, which Abhinandan directly never claimed. It is their government or the Air Force, they claimed that Abhinandan has shot down an F-16.
Of course.
And the manufacturer of the F-16, they confirmed that they haven't lost, that Pakistan did not lose any of the F-16. Still, they give him that big an award. So
I mean, I don't know how to react to it, whether to laugh at it or whether to just simply ignore it. But you know, it can't be ignored. It just shows a certain way that the Indian government is manipulating not only itself, but also the people inside its own country to believe whatever it's saying is the truth. Also, let's come to the radioactive substance, the allegation that India has put, which is also a false allegation. When within India, in the last couple of months, there have been multiple incidents of radioactive material that was found to be present, and they would be selling it illegally to other people. I mean, I don't understand this duplicity. I mean, either you do it and or you don't, but you don't, you know, do it and then you pinpoint at the other country and say that no, we're not doing anything. It's you who's doing everything.
It's very unfortunate. The incidents which happened in India about the proliferation, what was the voice from the, I would say, the sane world? It was very lukewarm. That's very unfortunate. That the international community, they tend to be ignorant about India on such extreme violations, and when it comes to something very small about Pakistan, India yells, and then there are many others who actually voice. That's very unfortunate. Actually, international community or the sane world, the liberal world, they need to be taking a more, I would say, balanced stance when it comes to such violations. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And when it comes to a bigger market, they behave differently, unfortunately. When it comes to comparatively a smaller market or comparatively a smaller state, their behavior is altogether different.
Commodore Sahab, let me ask you something very blatantly and very openly. This whole attitude of threatening Pakistan that we've seen over the last couple of years, at the same time you give the Veer Chakra to somebody who in fact was treated very humanely by Pakistan. Let's not go into details, but we all know the history of Mr. Abhinandan. Then the extrajudicial killings, then within Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, then I mean, all that is happening to the minorities within India, including in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, mosques that are being vandalized, people who are not being allowed to offer their Friday prayers. Then the farmers' protest that they had to relent to after a year and a half because of certain pressures. Do you feel all this that is happening, all this threats, etc., 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 is it all a political gimmick to gain more votes in India?
It is. It is to, I would say, a great extent. As long as they give a Veer Chakra to Abhinandan, that's well their internal thing, and they make a mockery of themselves. We should not be actually pushed. What we should always be pushed is about atrocities in Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, how have they held all of them hostages? And how I mean, the world is reacting to what they are doing up there. And we as Pakistan, we cannot stay quiet because Jammu and Kashmir is not their territory. It is disputed territory, and we should always be concerned. Anything happening inside India, yes, on the sidelines, we should be keeping an eye on what is happening in India. But we actually cannot say right away about the farmers thing. Yes, they had internal pressures, and they have reasonably good amount of pressure as far as Kashmir is concerned. So to, I would say, divert such pressures, these statements, I think, they think that they work.
All right. Last comment, sir. I'd refer, quote unquote, to what the Foreign Office said yesterday. They said Pakistan is fully capable of defending itself against any aggression. The entire world was witness to Pakistan's capability and resolve in thwarting the Indian misadventure in February 2019. We all know that. And also, while fully prepared to respond to India's provocations and irresponsible behavior, Pakistan will continue to act responsibly and contribute to all efforts for promoting peace, security and stability in the region and beyond. How does, I mean, referring to this, how, in your point of view, sir, should Pakistan react now and in the coming months if such threats or aggressions continue?
I think it's time for Pakistan to be more aggressive in their diplomacy. This is good that we have denied it or we have rebutted it, but I think we need to be doing something more. Maybe we take them to United Nations for such provocative statements. Why should they be left like that? One. Then as far as the capability of Pakistan is concerned, or what happened in the history, I think India knows it very well. How capable are we? I mean, it was right, February 19th thing. I think the amount of embarrassment India had internationally and their forces had with comparatively smaller, 3 times or 4 times smaller air force, I think it was not easy for them to live with. But then they continued to propagate such false things, believing that people would believe. That is not the case.
All right. So Pakistan needs to be more aggressive in the future through, of course, the difference means especially through its diplomacy, and also to tell the world what India has been propagating, including threats such as these. Thank you very much, Air Commodore retired Iftikhar Ahmad Bajwa Saab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about these Indian threats and, of course, the rebuttal, the reaction that has come from the Pakistani Foreign Office and what needs to be done from the Pakistani side. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know what India has been perpetrating since the last few years, and the whole threats and the whole aggression towards Pakistan, trying to destabilize Pakistan internally and externally. But of course, to what end and to which extent will it go when inside it all, it is all but imploding? Let's see what time has in store for our not so friendly neighbor. Let's go to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns Afghanistan and a report that has come from the United Nations Development Program that says that the financial system in Afghanistan will collapse or might collapse in the next few months if the necessary measures are not taken. More in the following report.
The ominous predictions about possible humanitarian meltdown of Afghanistan are coming true, as multiple accounts suggest that a cash liquidity crunch in the war-torn country could cause its financial system to collapse within months. In a startling 3-page report on Afghanistan's banking and financial system, the UN Development Program pushed for urgent action to support Afghanistan's banks, warning that the economic cost of a banking system collapse and consequent negative social impact would be colossal. Afghanistan is undergoing an economic free fall since an abrupt withdrawal of foreign development support after hasty US withdrawal followed by unilateral economic sanctions on the interim Taliban government. Humanitarian organizations alone cannot fix an implosion of a whole country, as US froze nearly $9.5 billion in assets belonging to the Afghan Central Bank and stopped shipments of cash. The Taliban leadership has urged the US Congress to ease sanctions and release Afghanistan's overseas assets in order for the government to be able to pay teachers, doctors and other public sector employees. The UN Special Representative for Afghanistan, Deborah Lyons, warned that Afghanistan is on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe and its collapsing economy is heightening the risk of extremism. The United Nations predicts that 60% of Afghanistan's 38 million people face crisis level of hunger in a food emergency that will likely worsen over the winter, as the country's GDP is estimated to have contracted by 40%. Pakistan has incessantly advocated that humanitarian catastrophe is preventable in Afghanistan, citing that the main cause of the ongoing crisis is financial sanctions of the Taliban, while urging international engagement with the interim Afghan government to prevent a human tragedy.
Now, to discuss this economic situation, this crisis, humanitarian and otherwise in Afghanistan, we've been joined by Dr. Hasnain Javed. He's a leading economist. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, the report by the UNDP, does it come to you as a surprise? We have been, from the Pakistani side, saying that all along since the last couple of months, so have other agencies. Why isn't the world reacting the way it should?
See, what I call it, this is not at all economic crisis. It's a cash-strapped nation. Now they are making, the US is making Afghanistan as a cash-strapped nation. what if I call it, I mean, I'm going to share a report, and it's the latest report to the United States Congress Special Reconstruction, SIGAR, has detailed the Washington decision to cut the Taliban's government access to billions in the fund, and as it has led to devastation across the cash-strapped nation. So if I call it, for example, the 20 years later, they have given the $146 billion, and addition to the $86 billion to the forces. And this is just for the training and the support for the country's national security forces, which is no longer existed. But if we go back, like for example, transition of the power as per the international agreement, the ex-president Ashraf Ghani was being, paved the way to the longest war. But now there is no war. I mean, Biden had set the departure date at the 31st of the final withdrawal, and then it goes on to the offensive surge. Then on August 15th, the Ghani fell to Kabul as government authority crumbled, and the Taliban marched into the capital city. Now, what a U.S. report completely says that the 40% of Afghan deposit base will be lost by the end of the year. The basic problem, I wanted to say it again, that it is completely the cash-strapped performance problem.
Of course, but there's no cash. There's no cash. The fact is, Dr. Saab, that Afghanistan has started to pay some of the salaries to its employees, but they can't even give them their full salaries. The people are not be able to eat 2 meals a day inside of Afghanistan. Where is all of this leading to?
This is what I'm going to say. This is what the Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muqatai said. The U.S. war no longer engage in the war with Afghanistan. That freezing the Afghan asset lacked logical, unjustified completely, because you have seen that the bank have stopped extending new credits. Non-performing loans had almost double 57% from the September end to 2020. Now, just give a minute, then I can. I just want to encapsulate the things. Like 4 billion worth of Afghanis in the economy, only about the 500,000 worth is in the circulation. Now, UNDP said the economic cost of banking system collapse. Subsequently, the negative social impact is completely here in our scheme. So, UN suggested the solution. One is the deposit of insurance scheme. UN is denied. The problem is that the Afghanistan is the part of China and the Russia, and their a dynamic shift towards the China and Russia. Now they are paying the cost. I mean, Taliban is clearly saying that this is about the hunger. This is about the World Report. This is about the humanitarian grounds. So where are the humanitarian grounds? The question raises here, where is the humanitarian ground? They are not just pulling us, they are not just giving the $9.2 billion of the humanitarian ground fund. They are just seizing everything. So UN's suggested solution to the problem is that one is the deposit insurance scheme. Second, the measures to ensure adequate liquidity for the short and medium-term
medium-term needs, of course. And of course, third is also the credit guarantees and loan repayment delays
problem. But addition to this, I just wanted to, sharing a fact that it is one of the humanitarian ground. The price of the flour has increased to 100%. The price of oil is over 110%. The price of rice is close to 40%. And the price of sugar is more than 35%. In that way, so the paying of the doctor, nurses, ground on, the transfer of salaries, and so this is all about 474 millions. So how Americans says that they have issued 474 million, they have provided the, the largest humanitarian donor. This is the main question to ask, and putting up to the UN, putting up to the IMF, putting up to the World Bank, where is the 474 million provided for the humanitarian
Dr. Saab, I'd like to ask you a question that is relevant to economy and the United Nations. The United Nations is still in Afghanistan. A lot of people might think that it's not, but it is. There is a UN presence in Afghanistan. Why is the money the economy, the aid not coming through the different UN agencies in Afghanistan? Why is there still a delay despite the assurances that have been given by the United Nations itself as well as the United States of America that you've pointed towards?
Thank you, Omar. Thank you very much for putting up the very pertinent question, because, I mean, this is a very brave question you have asked. It is a very, it is very clear that there is an international phenomena, international game behind it. The no international UN agencies, they are giving us the report. Why not they are, dispersing the 474 million to the people, and why they are not, the Afghanistan bank to release the amount for the salaried person, nurses, doctors, and all. So this is how the most dire need of the time, what we call it, the Taliban leadership, which recently banned all foreign currency transaction. One of the most intriguing question is, they said they have to gain their sanctity. How Afghanistan will get the sanctity, as per what?
If it is cash-strapped, if it is going through the humanitarian and economic crisis, how do you want it to stand on its own feet?
See, so this is what they say. They are saying they have to earn the legitimacy. How will they earn the legitimacy? Who will give them the legitimacy? So if UN is not providing their humanitarian grounds, they are not. There are triple Fs: fund, function, and functionaries. The US is not allowing them to develop the functionary structure or the governmental structure. So if there are many hindrances in there, so if there are so many hindrances in that way, so UN Food Program says that let them allow. International Organization for Migration says let them allow on the humanitarian grounds. People are dying for the hunger, people are dying for the starvation, people are dying, and the brink of starvation is on the last month. Approximately 14 million people are at verge of that. So how can Afghanistan gain the reputability in order, in the greater picture of the Americans? So this is completely the game behind the old structure, and they are completely, you can say it is a strapment. It is a complete strapment.
Now, Dr. Saab, in the report, the UNDP also says that if this banking system collapses, it will take decades to rebuild. I mean, the banking system is not the only thing that is going to take decades to build. If, the economic or the humanitarian aid is curtailed towards Afghanistan, there are going to be a lot of other issues, including inner turmoil within Afghanistan, including a political instability within Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. If people do not have food to eat, if they do not have water to drink, what are they going to do?
Omar, just extending your discussion, because you have putting today's you are putting excellent question in that way. Like I'm just sharing the situation. On August 15, Afghanistan economy was shrunk about 1.9% in 2020. Now after that, 80% of Afghan budget is financed by aid. So 37 million SDR currently, which is equivalent to 52.5 million, nearly enough to sustain for long. So China, this is a rift by the China. China has already offered 31 million in emergency aid to Afghanistan. Then they have given the 3 million vaccine dose to country. Then Western Union and the MoneyGram, you have put up the very important question that they have actually seized the Afghanistan bank and their transactional system. So who is, giving the hindrance to the whole banking channel? So Western Union and MoneyGram resume money transfer, which may Afghan rely to on from the relatives abroad to survive. So what they want want Afghanistan to put back onto the black economy. As they were dependent on the 90% of the black economy. What they want them to defame the current government structure. Is that the theological government or theology-based government? That's why they are putting up the pressure, or they are allied to the China or Russia, or they have the good terms now with the Pakistan, rather India, or the intervention of the India is now getting cut off by like anything. So is that the problem? Is that the backlash? Or what I say, the current economic situation is 40% since the Taliban took control in August. Now, 70% of the public expenditure under Afghanistan previous 20-year Washington blocked all governments. Now, 20 to 25% of economy was operational. Not all sectors are currently operational. So, merger of Mohammad Miraj and spokesperson of the Department of Revenue says the price of some primary items, mainly food, fuel, have increased by almost 100%. So, isn't it the international pressure? So, inflation is, I mean, there is no, I cannot even give you the a percentage. I have disclosed the percentage by, like, flour is, if the flour is on the 100%, oil is on 110, rice is on 40, sugar is on 35.
He also said that about from the 4 billion Afghanis that are present, I mean, as far as currency, only 500,000 are in circulation. So, you know, there is a lot of turmoil that is happening in Afghanistan. And in my point of view, I don't know, I'm sure you'll agree with me, the world is not reacting as it should. Pakistan is only doing as much as it can. You know, it cannot, it is going in fact above and beyond the way our Prime Minister and our ministers have been talking about and highlighting the Afghan issue on the different fora. But, you know, despite that, we don't see the same heightened reaction, aggressive reaction that should have come from the world bodies as far as helping Afghanistan is concerned. Whose role, my final question to you, whose role becomes the most important now in order to help Afghanistan come out of its current situation?
The complete, I mean, ball is in the court of United States of America. If they are working on the humanitarian ground, they must come out of the egoistic governance style. This is not the, this is not now the colony or the imperialism. The imperialism and colonial style is gone. So what we are paying a lot. We are paying the IMF issue. We are paying in the shape of so many sanctions. We are paying. Still, we are having so much problems from IMF. IMF yet not been clear out the grant. Why? Because Pakistan has taken the excellent humanitarian counter to the Afghanistan as if they are in the peaceful manners as they are in, completely. Have you seen any destruction by Afghanistan so far? Have you seen any? Have you seen any report?
Dr. Saab, to cut you short, a lot is happening. A lot of question marks exist in the minds of people in Pakistan and in the countries that are really concerned about the future of Afghanistan. But there are a lot of countries, without naming them, who maybe, as you said, are trying to play some sort of a game in order to continue to destabilize Afghanistan directly or indirectly. Maybe there's a larger game at hand. Maybe we'll know that in due time. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about the current economic situation that Afghanistan is embroiled in, and of course the UNDP report that has come that says that if Afghanistan is not helped the way it needs to, there is going to be a complete collapse of their banking system in the next few months. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Dr. Hasnain talking to us about Afghanistan and the economic situation that it is currently engulfed with. Let's come to our last stories very quickly. The first concerns Sudan, and Sudan's military has reinstated Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok and has promised to release all the political detainees after weeks of deadly unrest that were triggered by a coup. Of course, large crowds did come out to reject any deal that involved the army. This is an agreement that has been signed with the military leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan Hamdok, first appointed after the overthrow of autocrat Omar al-Bashir in a 2019 uprising, and it leads to a civilian government of technocrats for a transitional period. This is a 14-point deal that has been signed between the two. Let's hope it paves the way for a democratic system to be installed in Sudan. Let's now go towards Europe and COVID-19. Now, ladies and gentlemen, across Europe, the number of cases in COVID-19 is steadily increasing. Now, a lot of governments have taken the necessary curbs. Countries also call for a fifth wave of COVID-19 that has entered different countries of Europe. And so, it is reasonable for their governments to take certain precautionary measures. Now, what has happened is that there has been a very strong reaction from the people in the different countries. Now, whether it be countries such as, of course, United Kingdom, countries such as France, countries such as Guadeloupe, countries such as the Netherlands, they have had strong reactions coming from their people, from the public, who do not want these curbs to take place, who say, of course, we know that there's a huge percentage of anti-vaxxers across the world also, but now a lot of people are protesting that they do not want these curbs to happen, they want their own freedom, and this has resulted in a lot of demonstrations, in a lot of curbs, in a lot of retaliation by the people, and as we've seen, there's a lot of police that has also been taken up by these different governments to let these people not go further than they need to, and that has caused, of course, more uproar and the reactionary measures that have taken place in all of these countries. Let's hope and let's pray that these countries come to terms with COVID-19 and understand the curbs that the government is putting them through, and B, also follow the SOPs, like I always say at the end of the program. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's come to Wisconsin. We'll go to the United States of America, where a car plowed through a Christmas parade in the US state. It killed 5 and injured around 40 people. And this happened in the city of Waukesha. The incident occurred at around 4:39 p.m. on Sunday, and this is an area west of Milwaukee. The Waukesha mayor Sean Relly told reporters the city had faced horror and tragedy in what should have been a community celebration. The people are still ascertaining as to who did it, why all of this happened, whether it was terrorism or not, whether it was an accident or not. We will know more details as time comes by, and we will of course inform you in due time whenever that information is shared with the media. Till then, this is the end of today's show. We'll see you tomorrow with new segments and stories that pertain to US and Pakistan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and follow the SOPs. Get yourselves vaccinated if you haven't. Allah Hafiz.